do everything else that he could possibly do to leave that racetrack with his career and his reputation in a better place. So good job, Corey.
I've got one question.
Yep.
Matthew, don't yell at me. I'm sorry. I've been wanting to ask you this. In hindsight, what could Corey have done to win the race?
I don't know. I was talking to some guys here in the shop that were watching the race as well, Josh Berry. There was a moment, I guess, with 2 to go down the back straightaway. There was a couple times when Corey had the lead. Maybe he could have been a little more aggressive with his blocks to slow down some of the moves that were coming from behind. It was going to be hard to keep that 9 car behind anybody because he just had a lot of speed. So maybe Corey will relive some of the final laps in the race, thinking about some of the ways he could have defended the lead, as difficult as that would have been. I really don't know that he could have done anything different getting into turn 1. He faded toward the bottom, and Chase did the exact same thing. Chase faded to the bottom to take away any real move there, and then as soon as he saw Corey go to the top, which he knew was coming, he goes up the racetrack to block that. And initially, when I first watched the moment happen, I thought Chase ran him in the wall. When we watched it again, I see that Corey bounces off the back end of the 9 car and never actually gets up beside Chase. And so Chase's block to me was pretty fair, albeit late, but I mean, all the runs are happening 4 times as fast in that race than they happen anywhere else at Daytona or Talladega. So every block's going to be a late block in that situation. But it wasn't an extreme block. Put the guy in the fence. Corey bounces off the back corner, gets loose, into the fence he goes, and that's the end of the race.
Let's take a quick break to tell you about a Dale Jr. Download sponsor, BetterHelp. You know, I got a question for you, Matthew. What is something that you spend a lot of time maintaining and caring for to make sure it's up to par?
I guess your car or your house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Great one. Car. Got to get it serviced. It'll come apart if you're not careful.
Relationships.
There you go. Another good one. All of those things are very important, but they're also replaceable. Now that you said relationships.
Maybe not that far, but go ahead. Carry on, Mike.
All right. Your brain, on the other hand, is something you're stuck with forever. So why don't we give it the same amount of care and attention? Well, there are plenty of ways to support a healthy brain, like learning a new language or taking power naps. I like that one. There's also BetterHelp online therapy. That's what we're going to talk about. So, Dillner, you've used BetterHelp. What did you think about it?
Man, the app was super cool. It was easy to sign up. I'd say the biggest takeaway is how easy it was to get a step to therapy. It was really, really a user-friendly process.
That's fantastic. Look, BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat-only therapy sessions. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Now, our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Dale Jr. That's betterhelp.com/Dale Jr.
Well, I'm super excited to have Ally support our podcast. They bring us the guest segment of the show. And more times than not, this guest is an ally. It's important to have allies in your life professionally and personally. This particular guest, Mike, was both.
Yes.
He's a cousin. We grew up together, played together, and then we worked together in NASCAR, Tony Eury Jr.
He was your wingman, man. And boy, did y'all have some success together. And but it wasn't all great.
Nope.
Like, y'all had some tumultuous times as well.
We fought like brothers.
Yeah.
Publicly on the radio, and neither one willing to back down. And it would, and then you'd get out and go, "Hey, man, no hard feelings. Nothing personal. We're gonna be fine." Slap each other on the back, move on down the road. We're gonna talk about all that today. Get into the Cup Series experience with him at the Bud Car and at Hendrick Motorsports. Obviously, Tony Jr. has been going and doing all kinds of things since those days. Can't wait to hear everything about that and what he's got going on now. So let's go ahead and get him into the show. Tony Jr. on the Dale Jr. Download.
The fans are going absolutely crazy. Dale Earnhardt Jr. comes to the checkered flag and wins the 2000 running of the Winston.
Made some breathtaking moves inside, outside. He had the car to get it done, but he also had the driver ability to match the equipment he had, and he pulls it off tonight.
With 2 tires, so I said, we got to put on 4 tires. We didn't come here to run second or third. We came here to win, and that's the only way we was going to do it. Tony and the guys done a good job. Made the right calls tonight. We made some gutsy calls. With the new tires, it's Budweiser Chevrolet. bad.
This is more common for us to start the season off like this, and it's very frustrating.
Who takes the blame for the failed junior-junior relationship? Is it the driver's fault? Is it the crew chief's fault? Or do the two share the blame?
When you're dealing with family, and I know Dale Jr. and Tony Jr. have a great relationship, but that can be one of the most difficult
So obviously
things.
this has permeated the entire Hendrick Motorsports organization.
This is more common for us to start the season off like this, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, I've never seen two people, get after one another and argue more and be able to hug and make up at the end of the day more than those two.
It's really, really hard to, break up that relationship.
If I shake it up a little bit, everybody will stand up a little bit, and I think we'll try some new things. We'll try some different things.
Level of frustration, is it on a scale of 1 to 10? What would you put it at?
It's a 10.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Come on in.
Hey, it's a safe place. Don't worry. Don't be nervous.
You got one? You like that?
All right.
You brought a friend.
Oh, yeah, we got to go set up the dirt car here in just a little bit.
Is that right?
We got to get ready for tomorrow night.
Well, tell us who this little guy is.
This is Peyton. This is my oldest right here, like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I adopted Peyton and his little brother, Eli. So it's been a blessing to me and to them. Like, I've had a blast with them. It's, that's one thing that me and Tanya talk about now is, like, she asked me, during our career and everything, she said, is there anything that you would ever change? And I said, I raced my whole life. I said, from the time we were 18, it was all about racing. I ain't doing nothing else. I didn't want, at the time I was married to Amy, and she didn't, I didn't want her to be a single mom, and I didn't want to have kids. And the older you get, the more you realize that, hey, I'm the last Yuri. This is it. And I told her, I said, if I had anything to do over again, I'd had kids. I said, that's my only regret, and it's like a year and a half later, these two boys show up. They need a home. They were in a meth house, and, I basically saved them, and they saved me. So it's been a blessing both ways. I mean, I can't, to go racing with him. Eli doesn't really care about the racing too much, but Peyton here, he loves it. Yeah. He just eats it up. So it's been a blessing. It sure has.
Yeah, that's good to hear, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it had. I mean, I know that you were, 100% committed, and it had been a decision, a life change that you had made. But to hear that it has impacted you so personally is something profound.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, I don't know what I'd do without them. You know what I mean? It's like I just look at it as like, hey, man, it's like you always look in life and you're saying, okay, well, what have I done? We've won Daytona 500s. We've won this and that. But at the end of the day, that's just something wrote down on a piece of paper. It's like, what did you leave, behind? If you can help people, if you can give people direction in life to make them better or whatever. But I've got a chance to make two kids that didn't have a life and give them one. Yeah. And that means more to me than anything. And, I mean, it's, everybody has issues, everybody has problems, but it's like when you can give somebody a chance to live a better life, it's so cool,
We should let all the podcast listeners at home know that there's 4 people at the table right now. We got three kids, and then the adult here, Peyton, is playing with the cards on the table. And I just say, man, have at it, bud. I mean, if you're gonna have toys in here, might as well got to play with them, right?
Oh yeah.
Look at it. Hey, Peyton, if you want, at any time, there's a chair. There's a chair. You can go back there. There's water back there if you want. You can have anything you want. This is your place.
You want to say hi?
You want to say hi to anybody?
You want to talk to anybody, buddy?
He likes that wing card.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. White. So last time we was here, we had your dad on the show.
Yes, sir.
And I don't even remember where we ended up.
Who knows? I remember. I think you guys were the first interview we had in this new studio at the time. I don't even think we had a door on this wall back here. It was still under construction. So that's how long ago it's been. Yeah. But who knows where we went?
Yeah. So basically, I want to kind of dive in around a lot of. So one of the things, we'll get right into the creativity part. So one of the things that we've started talking about with a lot of people that come in here is some of the things that they did creatively to their race cars. And most of the time, it's best to ask crew chiefs. Some of the drivers, like DW, was pretty transparent about the putting all the buckshot in the frame rail and letting it drop out of the jack post. He told a story. He's like, yeah, they were looking for that buckshot, and they were trying to figure out where it was coming from, and they put the jack under the car and jacked it up. And when they jacked the car up, they basically sealed off the hole where they were going to be able to find it, because the jack post is on the jack.
Right.
And he's like, and so he loved to tell that story. We did a show with Spencer about the 2001 July race, and he said that our car was fixed. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
How pissed off we were?
Yeah.
I don't know anything specific, or I don't remember if I did know anything specific about our cars. But I know that you guys were smart, right? And y'all were pushed by Slugger and the 15 group and by everyone else in the garage to try to be as good as you possibly could be when we go to plate races. So, if there's anything you want to share, ain't gonna bother me. But I mean,
we want to know about the ones you didn't get caught with. We know about the one at Darlington.
Well, I know we had a little thing. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But so Richie was great at building motors. They had a really great intake. They were good at matching intakes with heads and all that, and just spent a lot of time making sure everything was perfect.
Yep.
And we had this one specific engine that we insisted was in our car.
Yeah, that one engine, one intake. We wanted that every time.
Every time.
And they're like, well, we got one better. And I'm like, I don't care. I'll take that one.
Right. And we ran and won a lot of races, and I still got that motor. And so at least most of it, when they put it back together, I guess it's still the intake and all that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people just find it hard to believe that we won all that stuff pretty straight up. But I mean, for the most part, listen. For the most part, I know we pushed boundaries, but they wasn't nothing on that car that was crazy like what we were doing. In 2012, we were moving the rear ends around, which wasn't illegal.
Right.
It just was till that we made NASCAR write a rule for that.
Well, that's what you do. It's like you have a car and you sit here and you fluff on it and you're pushing here and there, and that's been in NASCAR racing for years. And it's just like, well, your job is to take that thing to tech, put it on the very edge of it, and that official has to decide when you get in there, is that right or wrong? Or is that close enough? Well, close enough will win you a lot of races.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff like you always look at the procedures on how they do it. I mean, it's like if we're checking 25 templates on the first day. Well, if they ain't checking but 15, well, the other 8, I'm looking in that area. If I can, move the quarter panel in a little bit. Hey, can I pull the fender in a little bit more? That's the things that we always looked at. But, at that time, I remember in 2000, we went down there to Daytona, and we were terrible. Big E was terrible. We were terrible, and we put on 15 bodies. We went to Talladega, tested for 3 days. Come home in 4 days. We put a complete body back on and went to Daytona. We were determined to get our speedway program up to speed. And I tell people all the time, I was like, during that year, I learned so much. Just because we were doing bodies. We were moving noses up and down, making them wide, airflow, everything. Putting food coloring on the car so you could see where the air was going. And was like all this stuff. We would go to Yuma. It was a 5-mile oval that GM had. And we would go out there for 3 days, and we would have pages of stuff. And one day is nothing but the airbox. Just what's going on.
One day.
Just with what the airbox is doing. Because every time you change a cowl panel and you change some kind of deflection or a ring inside the air cleaner, it leans the motor in, richens it or leans it. Mm-hmm. So Richie and them would keep up with that. So as we made changes to the cowl, we would let them go back and tune it to it. That way you had a true, is it running or is it not?
Yep. It was thorough. I remember we were not only changing cowl parts, but we would have to go out there and put the car in the perfect situations. We'd have to see what that cow did leading, then we'd have to see what that cow did behind the car. And, and we'd get close to the wall and see if the wall would change the pressure of the cow.
Yep.
And do it, so you're testing variable after variable and nothing like he's talking right now. I don't know many teams that were that thorough.
Yeah.
in terms of like, okay, they're not checking template 12 and 15, so I'm going to go over to the car and try to take advantage of that opportunity. Other thing I'll tell you about Tony Jr., remember when we had those wicker bills on the rear spoiler?
Yep.
So there was a template that fit in there that was the size of the spoiler that went under that wicker. And so from the time we got to the racetrack to the time that car went on the track to race, Tony Jr. was slowly moving that thing down, that wicker tighter and tighter until that template got to where it barely go in there. And then there was a length on that wicker, and we'd show up a little fat, and Tony Jr. would have a file on him all weekend long. Every time I go over there, he's over there filing on that wicker. And just looking at, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, just getting a little closer. Getting it a little closer. We got a little more we can take off. And I mean, when the car got there, he wasn't done. Because once the car gets there, we put templates on it at the shop, but then the car gets there. Now the template's going. Now the NASCAR's putting their templates on it, and so he's seeing some other areas where, man, we could push a little here, we could push a little there, and if he could grind a 30-second off of that little wicker, he did it. And I didn't see every other team up and down the garage doing all that. And that a little 30-second here and a tiny little 30-second there, and all that adds up, And
that's one of the biggest things is like the one thing that Dale Sr. always told us is like, if I ever catch you cheating, I'll fire you.
Is that right?
Yeah. So it was a deal to where you couldn't go blatantly just do something. We couldn't. Yeah. So you didn't want to take that chance, because here's the other part of it is the minute that you do cheat, every win that you have is discounted. Like nobody believes you've done that. You know, if you're working within the rules and you're working with an official to whether he wants to determine whether that's right or wrong, well, that's on them. It's like, I used to laugh a lot of times because Chad would always have to be at the top of the sheet qualifying. Practice, qualifying, race.
You don't think you and your daddy were like that?
Yeah, we wanted to be, but like we talked to you one time, and you're like, I don't like starting on a pole. It's less fun. You remember that's how we come up. We had to put Wilson in the car, so you'd have somebody to talk to. But it's like, he
says I don't like starting on the pole.
Yeah, he said I don't like that. He said I like passing cars. I want to start in the back, and I'm like, well, it's a whole lot less work on Sunday if we can start towards the front. Let's pass like 5 instead of 36.
Oh my God!
But that was just one of the things that we kind of go around. But it's at the end of the deal, our speedway cars, like we would go out there and we'd qualify 14th.
They weren't super fast.
We had one time I had trouble getting through tech, and it still irks me to this day because when we was here with Danica, I told her, I said, I've won everything down here but a pole. I sat on the outside pole. Jeff Green won it. I had trouble getting through inspection. They kept me in the garage so long that when we come out of the garage, it was time for him to qualify, and we were on the 5-minute clock. So I never had a chance to heat the oil up or anything. I was running down beside pit road, beside the car with it running, trying to get heat into the oil just to get it. We pulled up there, he strapped in, he went out, and we qualified second. If I would have been out there 30 minutes earlier, had the oil plugged up, we'd be sitting on the pole for Daytona, But, so we went down there with Danica. I sat on the pole. I was like, she knew it was a big deal to me because that's the only thing we ain't ever done. Mm-hmm. I said, I've sat on the outside pole, but I said, you never sat on the pole. And it's just like, but you just go there and you just kind of like, it's just like you say, you have that spoiler with that wicker on it. Well, at the time, they were not checking spoiler angles when they put that template on it. So you just roll the thing back. Yeah. You can make it fit, It's like, and then you go up there and then the guy's like, okay, we're going to set your spoiler angle. Okay, great. And you set the spoiler angle. Well, now if they put the template in right at that point, it ain't going in.
Yeah.
But that was everybody in the garage could do it. Chad was, I think he got thrown out of Daytona because he was running the track bar brakes up, and blowing the back glass up. They had an F3 that went across the windshield, down the back glass, across the roof. Well, we all went and bought these collars and put them on the track bar deal. So NASCAR would say, you can't have but 3 inches of split in your track bar. And you're like, okay. So you set it at 2 1/4 a rake,
Mm-hmm.
and you put your collar up against the little tube on the back glass, and you let them put all their templates on, and you go over to the last station, which is set to heights, and they're like, oh, your track bar is not 3 inches. Would you like to have it? I said, I would love it. And you sit there and you go, it runs it up, and it's pushing the back glass up like 3/4 of an inch.
God almighty.
You know, and I think Chad did it qualifying, and they busted him. Well, they come down through there looking where everybody's underneath their car, taking them off. And we're like, sorry about that, Chad. You had to take one for the team there.
Yeah.
You know, but it was stuff like that. It's like people drilling holes in the window bolts. Like that 10/32, you're just trying to bleed air out of it, and you drill it. And so
what would that do?
It would just try to help get air out of the inside of the car to pressurize, you know. So
why would that slow the car down if it was pressurized inside?
Just the way the you're pulling the air out of the A-post over there. You know, however we put the NACA duct, we'd shove it up as far as we could on the right side, in the right side window, because it would suck air out of the car and not put it in.
Dang.
And he's like, I'm hot. I'm like, I'm sorry. He's like, there's dust particles. They're not moving inside the car. I'm like, they're not supposed to be. So,
dude, he's not. He doesn't. So we don't. He don't tell me. He's like, man, we're doing this because of this, and be ready. You know, this is how it's going to be. I get to the racetrack and I'm driving down the back straightaway, and I'm literally like, I can see dust particles floating around in here. How's that possible? I'm going 200 mile an hour around the track. There's no air moving inside the car. That is literally impossible. And I said, yo, it's hot as hell in here, and the air's not moving. I can see the dust.
He's like, I'm sorry.
Tony Jr.'s like, perfect.
It worked.
One of the biggest things that he always hated was, like, you get a brand new car, you know, and it'd be great. You know, they'd paint it nice and everything. And first run, the exhaust would cook the paint right off the right side rocker. And he'd come in coughing, carrying on. He's like, you're trying to kill me. You're trying to kill me. And we're like, no, it'll be gone in a minute. Just chill out. Just take it.
Just breathe it for a minute. I'm like, why don't y'all just not paint that part? Like, tape over it. Just don't paint it, maybe.
We're like, it don't look as good.
Hey,
it stunk.
You talk about how thorough they were with the test and all that stuff, and I'm just sitting here thinking, it's a good thing you had somebody that just loved test sessions, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
just showed up to them ready to go and ready to be thorough all day, right?
Yeah, well, I think we've talked about Darlington before, you know, with the whole deal. He's
doing donuts with the tires,
Yeah, he comes in, he's like, I don't like this set of tires, Junior. I'm like, well, they ain't got but 30 laps on. You got to run 80. So we ain't got but 2 more sets. You can't have another set. Well, I want another set. You're not getting another set. I mean, Pops will kill us if we put them on. Not happening. Okay, he's pissed. Put one of that up. Goes out. He runs like 10 laps. He comes in that garage, goes up there. When he comes around the garage part of it, he just starts doing a burnout like he won the race. Just Jimmy Finning and Mark Martin, you can't see them down there. They start walking our way, and they're like, what was that? And we're like, he wanted a new set of tires. Because he comes rolling in, he cops the window net, he says, I guess I'll get them tires now, won't I?
Oh, my God.
I was only like that because of them. I was not like that until I met them.
Y'all are killing me already, dude. Oh, I bet we could fill up a whole show about test sessions, right? Just stories that happen at test sessions. Like, I always wonder.
Oh, wait, yeah, there's one we told on here, but I don't know. We were at.
I'm thinking Iowa.
No, we were at Homestead, and we're in the AC Delco car, and so we went. There were if we're repeating what we did on the last episode, you'll have to forgive me, but we went to Homestead. I'm driving the AC Delco car. We had a pretty decent first day, and then we all went and got drunk. All right. So we go out to eat, and then we go to the bars and stuff at night, and we got drunk. I mean, furniture in the hotel furniture in the pool drunk.
Damn.
Yeah. And
That's
so,
almighty.
yeah, it was wild. And so we get up the next day, and I'm telling Tony Jr. and Senior, I'm like, I can't drive. I am sick. I'm about to throw up. And they're like, well, go throw up. Go do it. Now, I'm going in the bathroom every 30 minutes trying to puke so I can start feeling better, laying up in the lounge of the truck and air conditioner. They're all out in the car just finding things to do. Finally, around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, Tony Sr. comes up in the truck and says, we got a test. Like, you got to fucking pull it together. And we got to run some laps. So I'm like, all right. I go out there and I ran, and I come in. And Tony Jr.'s like, dude, you are 2 seconds slower than you were yesterday. Tony Sr. ain't even got to the car yet. Tony Jr.'s like, "Grr." I was like, man, I don't know, man. I don't know what. I pulled in. I said, I don't know what to tell you to do. I can't tell what's going on. It don't feel great. He's like, yeah, you're way off. And so I said, let me try again. So we go back out there and run slow. And we test the whole entire day. And we're like, we didn't get within 3/4 of a second of what we did the day before. It's way off. And everybody's scratching their head. And Tony Senior's getting angry. And everybody's wondering what's going on. And, of course, you know, I'm thinking it's me. They're thinking it's me.
I'm thinking it was you.
Everyone's thinking it's me. And we get home, and I go over to the shop the next day, and I don't know how we all figured it out.
Well, Fuller was our tire guy, Rob Fuller.
Oh, yeah.
He was our tire guy at the time. And, I mean, he's sitting there going, he goes, I'm telling you. He goes, this thing is evil. He goes, when I go down the pit road, it turns to the right. He said, it's almost like the stagger's backwards. So I go over, there's a stack of tires sitting right there. I just took a tape. Now there's an inch of stagger. And he's like, okay, well, maybe that ain't it. I mean, we're putting rear bars on it, all kind of stuff. Well, so Monday, I think Rob flew to Phoenix, and we had blistered some right side tires. And he goes over to the Goodyear guy, and he's like, hey, man, what are you going to do about them 30s out there? I mean, we blistered them. He goes, blistered them? What ain't supposed to have no tire problem. Like, he said, yeah. He said, well, them 30s on the rights, they just blistered up. And that guy goes, you had the 30s on the right? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, you had them on backwards. Them's the lefts.
Oh.
And so immediately Rob calls me. He goes, hey, man, I know Pops is going to kill me. He's going to kill me. But I didn't know, and I put them tires on. I had them marked backwards. So all day we run with an inch of stagger the wrong way. And the bad part is we made it turn. Yeah, we made it turn like that. So I walked into Pops' office, and I mean, you know how bad it is, because you're just like, I don't want to go in here to Pops, because this is not going to end well for Fuller or us.
Going to end well for me.
Yeah. So we're sitting there, and we're like, oh my goodness, this is going to be. Walked in there, and I said, Pops, you want the good news or bad news? Well, what's the good news? I said, we have got a car that will turn absolutely on a dime at Homestead. And he goes, so what's the bad news? I said, Fuller had the tires on backwards. I'll see you later. Bye. And it was like, boy, I don't think he lasted much longer after that. But it was like stuff like that. I mean, it's like he said, I remember in '98 we won the championship, and I mean, we partied all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, it was just no big deal. And Pops is like, I feel like Uncle Jesse. I got a bunch of kids here at a six-pack, and all y'all want to do is drink and party and stuff, and I'm trying to win a championship. I mean, you got that lecture all the time going to the track. And, I mean, there was nobody over 23 years old. Yeah. Pops was the oldest one. Yeah. I think Quinn might have been a little bit older than the rest of us doing the shocks. But so we won the championship. 99, I'm like, you know, I'm going to quit partying. Like, screw all this. I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm going to focus. I want to win this second back-to-back championship. So we wreck like 4 out of the first 5. Just terrible, you know? And we're like, what is going on? Our luck is done, you know?
Yeah, we didn't win till like mid-season.
So we go to Dover, and I told the boys on the plane, I said, you know what? When I get there, I'm going to the Sheraton, and I am getting tore up tonight. I said, it's going down. I said, we ain't done nothing since we stopped drinking. I said, we're going to start drinking again. And Pops is like, well, you always get the best setups when you're drinking a beer. You know, because he said, you go in the bar, you can listen to everybody else talk. So we go to Dover. I remember the lights coming on, and Ty Norris was there, and Slugger was there. Slugger handed me at one point, I was dancing with Ty's wife, and I had a pitcher of Budweiser in the other hand on the dance floor, and I was dancing. And the lights come on, and I'm like, why is the lights coming on? Pops ain't nowhere to be found. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Huh. Tore up. I'm like, ooh, this. And I room with Pops all the time, so, you know, I'm like, I don't want to stick the card in the door. So I walk up there, stick the card in the door. As soon as I walk in, he's like, what are you doing? You know what time it is? I'm like, I said, you left me. You left me there. That's why I'm like this, because you didn't stay with me. You should have stayed with me. I blamed it on him. He's like, shut up and get in the bed. I remember when he woke me up, I was sitting on the bed, feet still on the floor, laid straight back.
Oh, boy.
And he comes by and kicks me. First thing in the morning, it's 6 o'clock, kicks me.
No. Oh, wow.
Get up. You want to act stupid? You're gonna have to get up. I'm like, okay, I'm up. I'm ready. I'm get my stuff on. I get my stuff on. We practiced at 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock, we in there firing the motor up. We're still all just ramped up from the night before. Still drunk. Just still going. And it's like, go through tech, go through everything, and I'm like, this feels good. I was looking for my sun drop and my what do they call them, them little white donuts, little sweet 16s.
Yeah.
That's like Speedy Dry. Soak it right up. That's all you had to do is eat some of them. So I'd eat me some of them. We went out for the first practice, P1.
Oh my God.
Top of the sheet. Ty comes down the pit road. He comes in there. He goes, I had to come down here and make sure it was you. I heard you on the radio. I ain't no way it was you. I'm like, we ready today, buddy. So we went. I think we qualified top 3 or something. Won the race. From that point on, it was game on again.
Was that the first win that year?
Yes,
in 99?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Who knew? Y'all just needed to drink.
That's it. We was taking it too serious. Like just do your deal, Yeah. But it's like we went in there so serious, and it was like we were causing our own problems. Basically, it was like go in there and relax and just do what you do, and you can make it happen. And everybody gets along better. I mean, it's like
is that right? Is that how that works?
Yeah. I mean, at the time, they wrote books about us and everything else back at the time. It's like they call me Eeyore now because it's like there's so many years that like we were fighting or we were like two brothers. Oh, the sky's blue. No, it's a little bit darker than that. It's a little bit purple. It's just a little bit, but we're still trying to do the same goal. And it was like, he's like, well, I don't think it's me. And we're like, well, we don't think it's us. And it was just like, it doesn't matter about all that. It's just like we were all so competitive and wanted to win so bad that we were putting too much pressure on ourselves to do it.
Yeah.
Ultimately that was it. It was like, that's why Pops was so great being in the middle of it, because he was like, if we got to a point where we were too much, he'd just come here and stomp his foot and say, no, this is what we're going to do. And everything just stopped and, okay, let's focus, let's go do what we got to do.
Yeah.
But, Pops didn't go there to, Pops is milled out. When he was here, I told him he was like a teddy bear, He was so much easier, but it was like when he went to the racetrack, he was your tagging out. I want practice, I want qualifying, and I want the race. And there's no other excuse. If something fell off the car, you would just walk home. You're better off.
Yeah.
But it made us all better at the end of the day. So it's just I love the memories of it, just everything that we were doing back then. But it's like it was hard. There's no doubt it was hard.
So the 2004 season was one of good and bad. We won 6 races. I look at Victory Lane celebration at Phoenix, toward the end of the year, and we just won the race, and we're all happy. And then we went to Homestead and literally couldn't even have a conversation during practice. You remember that?
Yeah, the whole deal was like, and this is the way I pictured them 4 years.
Yeah. Your memory is way better than mine is. I can't remember why we were mad, how we even, because that's what happens to me. I'll look at Phoenix and go, damn, that was just weeks before, and then at Homestead, we literally can't be together.
Yeah, I think it was, I look at this as like, all right, 2000, like 98, 99, we already had all the setups laid down. We just told you, said, don't hit nothing.
Yeah.
Just go do what you do, don't hit nothing, we'll win this championship. We did. We went to 2000, it was like, we went to a lot of tracks in the Cup Series that he'd never been. We didn't have notes, he didn't have notes, and those were the weeks that were struggles, for us. Well, then in 2001, the accident happened, and it's like, I remember going to the bus, and he's like, okay, it's up to us now. And I'm like, okay, well, if that's his attitude, that's going to be my attitude, And so we just kind of, like, we were like, we had to hold the torch. We had to do it, And it was like mine and Pops, I'm speaking for Pops, but, when I looked at it as like, Dale Sr. was like a second dad to me, but it was like, I'm going to take care of Dale Jr. Whatever it takes, whatever I got to do to make sure that Dale Jr. is successful, that's what I'm going to do. Because that was my main focus, because I think, well, that's the only way that I can celebrate him, is making sure that you're successful. So that's what we did. But in 2002, I think you were even sitting there because, I look at it too, because you and your dad just starting to have a relationship. You know, I mean, it forever. It's like you didn't have a relationship with your dad. I was lucky I was getting to have one, you know, but I didn't move in with my dad till I was 18. So I'm sitting there watching you and your dad have a relationship, and you're getting the attention that you've always wanted. Well, then it got ripped from you. So in 2002, I don't even think he knew if he wanted to race. You know, we just kind of floated through 2002. And it's like, okay, we're at the racetrack. And maybe today we'll race, maybe today we won't. But it was like he really didn't know if he really wanted to do this, because there was so much damage with his dad being gone. And it was like, you know, just figure out what you want to do. And I think it was mid-2003, I think, is when you really decided, no, I got to grow up. I got to do this. I want to be a race car driver. And I think we won 3 races towards the end of the year. If not, we run good in a lot of them. And then when we come out of 2004, well, all we did was fix everything that we screwed up in 2003. If there was a race to where Atlanta, we had it won, and the TV deal cut the brake line. Yeah. We come back in 2004, we won that race. We should have won it the year before, we won it this time. Went to Richmond, won it. They just, all the races that we were screwing up, we got. Well, we go to Atlanta with 3 to go, we're running 3rd. And we were like, sitting really pretty in the points, and we're like, hey man, don't do nothing stupid, just finish this race out, finish 3rd. You know, and he's trying to do all he can do, and he just slips up, gets in front of Edwards, and he hits us, and we hit the inside wall. So now we don't have a points lead; we got a deficit.
Yeah.
Well, we all knew we were going to Phoenix and win. Like us at Phoenix was just like us walking into Daytona. Like, this is our racetrack. We're here. We'll take care of business here. And I think that's why we all went to Phoenix, and we were like, we done exactly what we said we would do, and we won the race. So everybody's just happy. But I think when we went to Homestead, it hit us that we just give away our championship.
Oh, yeah. So you think that's what happened?
Honestly, that's what happened. I mean, because the whole team was just devastated, because if we'd have just finished 3rd at Atlanta, went to Phoenix, it didn't matter what happened at Homestead.
Yeah, we had was that the same year where we had like a rear end yoke brake or something on the car at Martinsville, like 5 races to go?
Yep.
And we lost the chunk.
Oh, it was a bad finish.
Something broke.
Yeah. Killed it.
Something broke. It was a weird part that shouldn't break. It never breaks.
Yeah, I mean, it just happened to happen. But that whole year was our championship year. And it was like everybody got to Homestead, and we were just like devastated. We're like, because it ain't like today. Like, you got this little chase deal right now of 10 races. Who's good at the last 10 races? You know, back then it was like every race, every lap. I mean, everything counted. And now it's more like, okay, we'll just get you a win, you know, get through the year, and then the last 10 races be really good at those tracks.
And you got docked points after Talladega. Yeah. All that happened at the same time.
Yeah.
That was my fault.
No. I'm just saying, like, it would have – what Tony Jr. is saying is that all of a sudden the reality hit, right, going into Homestead.
Instead of it being after the race, it happened.
That was a crazy sequence of weeks.
It was, but when I was at Homestead, I wasn't that devastated, because we won 6 freaking races. Like, I was sitting there going, yeah, this sucks, but damn, man, we're good. And then practice started, and the car, we weren't fast. And I had a hard time at Homestead, no question. And we weren't running the wall then. You ran the bottom, and that the transition and that progressive banking, I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't run good there. And we ran a couple practices, and I smarted off, he smarted off, and in 5 minutes, neither one of us wants to say a word to the other one, don't want to even look at each other. And it stayed that way, like the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
We go into the off season, and then I go into Gilmore's office, and he says, I think we ought to make a change. And I was like, I'm still pissed off, so what kind of change you want to make? And so, worst decision, we talked about that. Worst decision I ever made in my career. And I've said it here at this table with Tony Sr. and Tony Jr., and I said it outside this room. It's my biggest regret in racing was that decision. If we'd have just figured it out, patched it up,
or slept on it,
stayed the course. Yeah. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was sitting at home, at your home, and I said, hey, man, I was like, Richie's like, hey, man, we got to talk. We got to do this. I'm like, why are we doing this? You know, all we needed was a breather. Everybody just was devastated. Like we're on a roll now. Like there wasn't a racetrack that we didn't walk into that we didn't think we could win. You know, like we were the threat. You know, we wasn't worried about nobody. And so at that particular time, well, when it all went down, we went and sat in the office, and it was like, I think they said they were going to put Pete with you, and they said, we're going to make Pop's general manager, and we're going to make you a crew chief for Truex. And I'm like, well, have you talked to Bono about this? Because Bono had been doing the chance race, and they're like, yeah, we've talked to him. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, if you want to do that, that's fine. I mean, we'll take Truex. I like Truex. He's great. You know, if that makes him happy and that's what he wants to do, then that's what we'll do. Well, within 30 minutes, Bono's on a flight coming back from Massachusetts because he done heard about it because nobody has talked to him about it. You know, so he's upset. So now we've upset the whole company is in uproar. And, I mean, I even made a phone call and asked another cup owner. I'm like, hey, you want a race team? Because, I mean, we were the hottest thing there. I said, I'll bring all 25 people. Like, we'll all come. You know? And it was just like, he said, man, if you'd called me one day earlier, I'd hire everybody that's in that shop. You know? And I was like, okay, no problem. So that's when I told Pops, I said, just tell him to give me Michael. I said, I'll take Michael. I said, give me 1 year with Michael and find me a young driver that we can just, I said, I don't care if I go back Xfinity racing. If I got to come all the way back up through it, I said, well, do it. I said, but if that's what he wants to do, if that's his decision and we want to do it, let's do it. So ultimately, that's how the whole deal. We went in there and it was like just a team swap.
At any point, did you talk to Dale? Or did Dale talk to you?
No, me and him never even talked about it, and it was just like.
Did you want to?
Well, yeah. I mean, at some point, because you're like, well, I want him to be happy. But at the time, me and him was too immature to deal with it. That was the problem. It was like, my attitude back there and his attitude back then is like, it was just the wrong attitudes. It just put it like that. I mean, but it was like, in 2005, I'm sitting there, and I just told all the guys in the shop, I'm like, look, we're going to have Michael this year. What we're going to do is we're going to make our race team better. We're going to do our own parts. We're going to make quality control. We're going to be a better race team now because of this. That's all we can do. If we go win a race with Michael, we're king. Like, that's all we got to do. We got to go win races with Michael Waltrip. That's what we got to do. It's still our job, you know. So we go into the season, well, that was the year that we started coal mining. We actually went to Daytona and started coal mining, and Michael passed you off of 4, coming to the 125s, and the two shops were at war. The whole place. I mean, it was funny. Christmas time, all the Napa guys wore red and all the Bud guys wore blue because of Napa and Bud. It was like the whole facility was segregated at that time, just like.
Oh, but you don't mean Napa wore blue and Bud guys wore red.
Yeah,
yeah. I got
just showing that they were going to the other team,
right?
And it was just because they
swapped. That's right.
So we were sitting there, and we go into the season or whatever, and I think it might have been Richmond. Like, we went and run second with Michael right off the bat. We had a chance to win the 500 with Michael, and it was like motor blew with like 25 to go. And it was like, I was so mad at Daytona because, I mean, Richie come over to me and said, man, I got a motor. Put in your car. You're our best shot for the 500. I'm like, I don't want it. Give me the motor that I'm supposed to run. He said, I promise it won't blow up. I'm like, I'm telling you, I don't want it. Just, if it's anything experimental at all, do not give it to me. I want my regular motor because I can win this Daytona 500 with Michael. And it was like, Michael, at the time, these two, they're not, like, everybody's so split, I know he ain't going to draft with me, and Michael ain't going to draft with him, so that kind of hurt the whole company. So I went to Stewart to start in front of us. I was like, Stewart, do me a favor. I said, will you draft with Michael? I don't like Michael. I don't care if you like him or not. I said, you like me? Yeah, I like you. I said, you like my team? Yeah, I like you boys. You're cool. I'm like, well, draft with us. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll draft with you, but he's got to push me all day. That's what he told me. I'm like, no problem. He won't leave the Home Depot on your back door. So if you go back and look at the race, Michael's out there. He never leaves the 20. It was just like that was the new 8. And we pushed to 20 all day. And he's like, Tony, I'm running half throttle behind this guy. Whenever you want me to pass him, you just let me know. I'm like, you don't move. You don't move. I said, you stay right there. We come in for the last pit stop with 25 to go. And I said, all right, Michael, game on. Do whatever you want. He goes down into one, pulls high, drives right around him, pulls down in front of him, leaves 3 more laps, and the motor blew up. I was so mad, I got in the rental car and drove home. I would not get in the plane with him to drive home. And it was just, that's my attitude back then.
Well, you wanted that race. You wanted it out of spite.
Yeah. You know, it was just, you had so much anger built up in you. You're just like, man, I want to prove something.
Yeah.
You know, and it was the wrong way to be proving it. You know, and it's like, during that year, I think he was having a terrible year.
It's awful.
It was awful.
That speed weeks even wasn't that great. I think you finished 3rd, Dale, but honestly, I remember that race
started.
The race was awful.
Plowing.
Yes.
Yeah. 30th, and I'm like, I can't even go. I can't stay in the gas. Can't go nowhere.
Right.
This is gonna be the worst race ever. I don't know how we got the car better.
I mean, honestly, I'll say this right here at this table, but like, it bothered me so bad that we split up and sit there and watch him race with somebody else and me not racing with him. I would go on Dale Jr. There's a Dale Jr. pitstop.com or something.
Oh, yeah,
and
the website.
I would go on there and read what people are saying and how bad they hated me, and that would just fuel me to go to the next race. They're
wow.
like, he took his cars. I don't know why. And I'm like, yeah, I got them good and pissed off now. Because I lived off that, and it's stupid at the time, but it was like, you that's how I was feeding myself to go to the next race. You know, and then it's like, I think Richmond, I come up into your bus, and I think it was first Richmond. You were running bad, and I walked up into his bus. He said, that's the first time we'd really talk.
Richmond?
Yeah.
Which would have been like the race.
Well, I mean, we'd walk by and say, hey.
Okay, yeah, but a meaningful conversation.
Meaningful conversation. And I walked up into his bus, and I'm like, what is your problem? I said, you're a better race car driver than what you're driving. I said, what is your problem? I'm like, I'm tired of watching you run 25th to 30th. Like, you're going to lose your career over this if something don't change. And that's when he says, man, I made a mistake. He says, you know, these guys, they don't listen to me. They got their own ideas. And he says, and I can't drive their cars the way to do it. And I just screwed up when I made this decision. And I said, well, fix it. You helped create it, like, fix it. Well, how do I fix it? And I'm like, the only thing you got to do is go tell Richie you want your old team back. And I said, but the first thing you got to do is go over to that team, because Michael, when he come in, Michael's just like, thank you guys. Man, y'all are the greatest.
He's a kid in the candy store.
Yeah, he's loving us, and he's feeding us with just, y'all are the best, man. Like, I can't believe I'm with a race team this way. And I just told him, I said, you got to go over there and apologize to all them guys and tell them you want them back. I said, that's all you got to do. I said, because it was like a family. I'm like, just say, hey, you screwed up, and let's go. And ultimately, that's what he did. And we got back together, 10 races to go? 10 races to go in the season or something. They put me with the Napa team.
Bullshit. I don't remember that.
Yes, sir.
I remember walking up to you and having a conversation at Talladega in the garage. And I walked up to you and I said, you want to get back together? And you said, let's get back together.
Yeah, let's do it.
I remember asking you in that moment at Dega. I remember you coming in the bus and telling me that, but I don't remember it sinking into my head that I needed that I could get y'all back.
Yeah.
It didn't dawn on me in that moment, like, okay, yeah, I'll just go tell them to swap it all back.
Right.
And I went up to you at Talladega, and I was so nervous, and I wanted us to get back together so badly. And I went up to you, and I think I remember asking you if you wanted to get back together, and I remember sitting there about to throw up, waiting on you to answer me. I mean, you answered me quickly, but I didn't know what you were going to say.
Right.
You know? Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I remember us sitting there talking, but after the Richmond deal, I was just like, well, we just got to make it happen.
Yeah.
You know, and then I think it took that long for it to happen.
And so you came down to the Napa car?
Yeah, because they put me down there with like a couple races to go at the end of the season, and I started working, like, we put Gibson with the A-car bunch.
That's right.
I left Gibson up there. I'm like, Gibson, you can handle these guys. Handle them.
Okay.
I went to the Napa shop trying to repair the friendship and the company, because I was like, man, all I've done is the damn company separated. Well, you know, there was guys down there on the 15 car that were great, you know. I mean, I'd go down there and talk to them. So I went to the last couple of races with them. and they're great guys. There's just always, there was something going on down there. And I felt like, I think after that year is when I went to Richie and I told him, I said, look, you got the one shop over here, you got the 8 shop here, and then you got the 15 car down the street.
At the chicken coop.
At the chicken coop. I said, they're like outlaws down there. Like they feel left out. And all. I said, what do we got to do to put the whole thing under one building? I said, so we moved the fab shop, moved the one car beside the bud shop, had a central suspension room where all them guys had to work. I said, have one break room where we all have to go into the break room together. It's the only way you're going to make have chemistry between the two teams. Mm-hmm. And I think we did 2006 there, 2007, 2008, we went to Hendrick, right?
Yeah.
So 2007, we had a good year. We just blew up so many motors, but that was the biggest deal when I went to Hendrick's. Was like, if I look at Hendrick Motorsports to DEI, Hendrick Motorsports has got more engineering. They had SIM and more engineering than DEI. As far as people that worked in the building and the heart, the race, I'll take DEI. But if I want to be on the computer and be ahead, and even Rick told me that. Rick's like, you being at DEI, he said it's like Duke playing Davidson. You can play a good first half of basketball game, but in the second half, I'm going to blow you out because the depth of Hendrick Motorsports is so much more. They got 5 guys in the lineup. It'd be like Alabama going against, a Mississippi State or something. They just ain't got the depth that you got.
The Dale Jr. Download is sponsored by Valvoline. Everyone's been talking about the Chicago Street Course as a possibility for next year's schedule. And I'm like trying to tell everybody, it's been done before. It's been done before because we've talked about it with Valvoline. You guys might remember us talking about it. It was 1895, the first race ever on American soil. It was called the Chicago Times-Herald Race, and it was raced on a sloppy, snowy filled street of Chicago, like really nasty. That's the way we ought to do it again. If we're going to do it right, do it like they did in 1895. The winner of that race was an inventor from Massachusetts named J. Frank Dorier. He wheeled his horseless carriage to victory, and guess what he had in it? He had motor oil, and guess what type? You got it, Valvoline. Valvoline is the original motor oil we've been telling you for a long time. Now, 126 years later, Valvoline is still heavily involved in motorsports. Valvoline is proud to be the official motor oil of Hendrick Motorsports. Kyle Larson dominated 2021 and took the NASCAR Cup Series championship with 10 wins and over 2,000 laps led. Hendrick teammate Chase Elliott won the championship the year before. This year, each of the 4 Hendrick drivers have at least one win, just like J. Frank Dorier. Valvoline is also winning on the grassroots level. In dirt late model racing, Brandon Shepard has had a great year, winning 11 races with Valvoline on the hood and in his race car. So yeah, motorsports is an important part of our life, and it's an important part of the history, heritage, and development of Valvoline. So use Valvoline, the original motor oil. Let me go back. I'm trying to still put the timeline together on 2005, okay? Because you're right. I forgot about Tony Gibson. And also we're forgetting about Steve Mill.
Yep.
He was in it. So, like, if I remember correctly, and anybody jump in and tell me where I'm wrong. Okay, so we started off the year with Pete Rondeau. You guys are going with Mike. You guys got Michael and the Napa team and off for running. And you guys were pretty, like, you could tell a difference already with the way Michael was running. He just had a pep in his step, too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he glowed. And then after, I mean, God, it wasn't
Pete
but
was
a handful of races.
I think it was about 10 races.
10 races, Pete's gone, and they put Steve Mill in, who I think was your spotter at the time, if I remember correctly.
He was kind of
something. And what was his role at DEI? Like, he was a director of something?
He was like a director of competition. He handled the chassis shop for us, and he was kind of like the middleman trying to keep everybody together.
Okay.
You know.
So then at some point we get to Charlotte, and there was a big feud.
Yeah.
And I would have to think Steve Mills, our crew chief at that time, because I think that would have been on the back end of the Rondeau switch. And so the wreck between Michael and Dale, because I have just snapshots of memories of that.
Yep.
And the snapshot is Tony Sr. I remember when Dale finally pulled into the garage, I said, hey, get to the hauler. I got to tell you a lot of things. I got a lot to tell you because you guys didn't finish the race after that wreck. Was that the 600 or the All-Star race?
It was a 600.
600.
It was a 600.
600.
And what it was.
And that would have been where things were really boiling over, right? Like there was a lot of animosity between the two teams.
Yeah, me and him, I'd already went and asked him what his problem was.
Okay, so you had already had the conversation at Richmond. Then Charlotte happens.
And then we're like, and the whole time that this is going on, just a little backstrap, is like the 15 team, which is me, we're starting coal binding. We're starting to do that kind of setup, okay? Well, we're not telling anybody anything about what we're doing. We're keeping it all top secret because we're like, we don't need this to get out. Because I'm looking at it as, after the first 10 races, I'm looking at it as half the people that are on the 8 car down there are probably going somewhere else at the end of the year, okay? So I don't want to get my secret out of what I'm doing because then it'll be in every
Penske.
It'll be everywhere.
Everywhere else.
So I'm trying to keep it boxed in a box. Don't tell nobody. Put the springs up. Don't tell anybody what we're doing. Well, there was engineers that were down there on the 8 car and they were like, "Oh, we know what they're doing. Like, we'll just order." So I've got the spring company calling me and saying, "Hey, I know you don't want to tell everybody what you're doing, but your buddies at the 8 shop just called and ordered $50,000 worth of springs, and they're not right. Do I just send them?"
Oh, wow.
So at that time, I have to make a decision. I'm like, send them. I'm like, screw it. I'm not giving up my secret. I'm like, just send them what they want.
Yeah.
You know, and the guy's like, okay, well, it's not right. And I'm like, I can't help it. I'm not giving out my secret. So we're going through all this. We go to 600. And all it was he was trying to swap. Michael was trying to get out of his way, and they hooked. It was that simple. You can be angry when you're up on the pit box or whatever, but at the end of the day, 2 of them went for the same spot. They hit together and they wrecked. But I've got 15 guys in the pits that just, you might as well throw a grenade in the middle of it. Like, so everybody's pissed, you know, because they're like, he wrecked us on purpose. Yeah, you know, and I'm sitting there going, well, I don't think he'd do that. You know, and I'm just like, I'm just going to leave it at that.
But it was on the straightaway. Well, you know, it was on the front.
It was on the front, but it was still, they were going to the same spot. And I was just like, trying to keep my emotions in check. Because up to that point, I've been a nutcase.
Pops didn't take the same approach.
Well, you chased me up in the truck. I think it was you, JR, and there was somebody else. They come running up in the truck, and they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I am fine. Just leave me alone. I'm going to get my book bag, get my car in my truck, and I'm going home." And I said, if I got a problem with him, I'll go talk to him at his house. I mean, that's what I said.
Okay.
And you looked at me and you go, so you were like, "Are you sure? Like, are you okay?" And I'm like,
because your dad had just held court.
No, you were standing there and you were like, "Are you sure you're okay?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Mike," I said, your biggest problem that you have right now is you don't know where Pops is at.
That's right. That's what he said. That's what he said. And it's all hit me. It just came back to me because as soon as he goes, your bigger problem is Pops. And as soon as I turned around,
he says, "Where do you think he is?" I said, "Probably in the middle of them lights."
No, yeah. Those lights went ching, 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 ching. And it's like you saw this like bigger than God person standing out there, and his arms are doing this. You haven't seen, and he was evangelizing. He was like the Holy Spirit had got a hold of him, and he's sitting here just carrying on. And I'm like, oh God, this is where it all unravels right here.
Yep.
And sure enough, you're just out there racing, and we're sitting there doing all that. And then when you came in, this was so funny because you would have been gone by then. Dale comes in, you know how he is. Like you can't have a secret without him going, "Well, tell me," you know, or something. It's like, "Hey, come into the hauler," and he's still in the car. I said, before you do all these interviews, because there's a ton of people now surrounding the 8 car, because Pops has just held the press conference of the century out there.
Right.
And Dale's like, "Why?" And I said, "Just come into the hauler. I got to tell you." "Why?" And I'm like, "Just get in the hauler." You know, like, come on. Seriously, get in here. And of course, so I'm like, Pops just absolutely ran you under the bus. And they are here to ask you all about it. and that was it. That was it. So, like, that was like, to me, I felt like that was the bottom. Like, that felt like the bottom.
It was. I mean, I remember I told all my guys, I'm like, do not say a word. Don't walk by their pits. Don't say nothing. Just go load our car up and get out of here. nobody say a word. And I mean, they're like ready. Well, I think the worst thing that happened was somebody took 250 lug nuts and threw them on your lift gate when they walked by or something. And I figured out who that was. And
Who was it?
I think it was Troy.
Troy Prince? Not
Yeah.
Troy Prince. Man,
I think
he's
Troy.
such a nice guy.
Yeah, I think it was Troy.
Everybody loves Troy.
He ended up working here.
I was like, Troy done that. So we went back to the shop. And I remember on that Monday, one of the funniest things that ever happened was we come in there on Monday, and they're like, okay, we're all going to talk about this, you know. And we're standing in the bud, or it had been an apple shop then, but it was old bud shop. Standing there, Teresa comes walking through the door. Her and Jimbo, and they come walking through there. And me and Pops are standing there talking, and she comes through, and I'm like, oh, hell, this is going to be big, because she don't come around. And it's like all this stuff just happened, and she walked through this door. This probably going to be a butt chewing coming right here, you know. So I'm like, okay. She comes over and she tells Pops, she said, you got any tape? I need some duct tape. And Pops is like, sure, what color would you like? She says, it really doesn't matter, just any kind of duct tape. And I was like, okay.
Oh, damn.
So she walks over there, and he says, how big a piece